Thank you, Jenny. Good morning, everybody. Ooh, so nice to see everybody here and online. Welcome to Unitarian Universalist Church West on this sunny, gorgeous Father's Day here in Brookfield, Wisconsin. As we begin this morning, we pause to acknowledge that in this place, we occupy the traditional territory inhabited at various times by the native peoples of the Seven Councils Fires, Ho-Chunk, Kickapoo, Potawatomi, Menominee, Peoria, and Miami nations. We do so because it is important to understand the history that has brought us to reside here and to seek to understand our place within that history. We thus acknowledge as well our need to address racism, which continues to lead to the violent deaths and oppression of Jews, Black and Indigenous peoples, and other peoples of color. We know that anti-Semitism, anti-Black racism, and colonialism perpetuate inequalities, injustices, poverty, and exclusion in U.S. society. And as it is Pride Month, let us claim in loud voices that in these fear-filled, hostile times, our faith continues to be an unapologetic champion for LGBTQIA+ people and their families. May we be those champions. With this awareness close to our hearts, we commit ourselves to becoming an anti-racist faith community dedicated to equality, racial justice, and right relations. My name is Lynn Capitan, and I serve on your Board of Trustees. Today, continuing with June's theme, the path of vulnerability, in the presence of all the fathers who throughout all time have called us into being, we explore how we might live into their hopes and dreams for us. We come together today from many places, here in the sanctuary, in numerous living rooms and kitchens, in coffee shops, and even in cars. And by the way, if you're on the road, please take care. Wherever we are right now, and we know it is so good to be together. To you, all of you online, even though we can't see you, we feel your presence. Our hearts and spirits are one. Now, later in the service, all of you out there in virtual world will have an opportunity to participate in sharing your joys and concerns. So get your phone or a pencil, and if you don't have Reverend Julie's cell number, you sure you want to do this? Write it down now. Okay, so here are just a few things to settle in and feel at home. If this is your first time here and you'd like to connect further, please talk to me after the service or send an email to visitor@uucw.org or use the welcome side of the yellow form that was included in the order of service today. Those forms can be dropped in an offering basket later in the service. And be sure to visit the newcomer table in the community room after the service. We're into our summer RE program, so our kids went directly to their fun time when they arrived. And I see that looks like the case. Good. That will be the typical plan throughout the summer. Please note that the nursery remains open each week, but the worship exploration table has some activities here in the sanctuary as well, including for anybody who feels like getting up and doing something during the service. Go right ahead. And if at some time in the service, if you feel so moved, you can also go to the side table over there and light a candle if you wish. And you can also fill out the share side of that yellow form if there's something on your heart this morning. There's coffee, tea time, noisy in the community room, and quiet spaces here in the sanctuary or upstairs, and we invite you to stay and chat, socialize, and help us build community. Our music director, Ruben, is away this week, and we have a wonderful guest pianist with us today, Jenny Horvath. Welcome, Jenny. We hope to meet you after the service. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of things that you might find in your printed order of service, and a few additional things. Lots of wonderful things. You can really grasp the sense of reconnection and rebuilding of community that's been going on and is continuing into the summer. So this is a great opportunity to take a look at everything and make note of some things that you might want to participate in the coming weeks and months. I would just call out, where did it go? Juneteenth Day, where is it? Number 10. Nope, it's not number 10. Where is it? There it is, number 9, sorry. Juneteenth Day Parade and Festival. This is a wonderful, long ongoing celebration in our Black community. It's the 52nd year of the parade and the street festival. It's always held on June 19th. It's always wonderful to show up and to be part of this wonderful historical event. So take note of that. It starts at 9 a.m., but it goes all through the day with lots of things going on until 4 p.m. So I'll make mention of that. Additionally, the transition team is continuing the work that was begun at a workshop last month to create a new mission statement for UUCW. This doesn't happen with a couple of people overnight. It's a long process with lots of input from our congregation, and you'll have many opportunities to participate in that process in the coming months. But the first one is a one-question survey. How easy is that? Found in Thursday's e-news. Those of you here at UUCW this morning received a little blue piece of paper that contains that question, and you're asked to answer it at some point today and leave it in a basket before you leave, and that'll make it easy. And those online can help out by going to the survey link in last Thursday's e-news. Next Sunday, we will be celebrating summer solstice with an outdoor service. This service will not be live streamed, so we hope you can attend in person. And if you prefer a virtual experience, we will be posting the link to join the General Assembly worship, which is always a really great event at General Assembly that is taking place in Pittsburgh next Sunday. On another note, UUCW will be holding 2 UU Wellspring small group programs starting this fall. The introductory sources and spiritual ancestors for the more experienced participants. So be sure to see in this coming week's e-news about this or contact Patricia Diora or Helen Ambule for more information on those opportunities. And finally, note that Reverend Julie is away for 2 weeks beginning tomorrow. Yay for you, having some time. And Vicki, our church administrator, is also on vacation this coming week, which means that the office will be closed. Another page here. There we go. Okay, thank you for your forbearance. It's always a joy to spend Sunday morning with you. Now I invite you to rise in body and or spirit to sing Guide My Feet, which is number 348 in the hymnal. And just because the kids aren't here doesn't mean we can't make some joyous noise to go with it. So you're welcome to go and grab something from the music basket at the worship exploration table if you feel like it.
Search my heart while I run this race. Search my heart while I run this race. Search my heart while I run this race. For I don't want to run this race in vain.
These words, a call to worship, were written by Lawrence E. McGinty. To this house we come, bringing our boldest dreams, seeking here the inspiration and strength to make them be. To this house we come, hoping to bury broken dreams, to be sustained through their pain and to discover new ones amidst their tears. We come here lonely, isolated from meaningful human contact, searching for warmth and closeness and care. Needing to grow beyond plateaus of the commonplace, we seek here challenges and commitments productive of greater wholeness and deeper meaning. We come intense and constructed, hoping for encouragement to shed our pretenses and to be ourselves. Filled with despair and self-doubt, we seek affirmation, prodding us to say yes to ourselves and to life. Somehow, always putting happiness ahead of ourselves, we enter this place trusting that what happens here will enable us to make and to accept a little bit of it now, today. Strange place, this house. Here we cry, sing, laugh, hurt, dance, touch, survive, celebrate, grow, search, doubt, hope, rejoice, pray, trust, care, learn, think, wonder, be, become. Yes, this morning to this house we come. Now let us worship together. I'm going to invite us to begin by sharing in a spoken covenant before we light our chalice. Ours is a covenantal faith, which means that we are held and hold one another by the promises we make. This particular covenant was written by J.E. Abernathy, Jr. Please join me in reading the words in the order of service. We affirm that love is our greatest purpose. Accepting one another is the truest form of faithful living. The search for truth is our constant star. We pledge our hearts, minds, and hands to challenge injustice with courage, to find hope in times of fear, to live out our Unitarian Universalist values every day as a beloved community. Thus, we do covenant with each other and with all that is sacred in life. And now we'll light our chalice.
Oh, okay. Is it on? Great, thank you. When Unitarian Universalists gather, we light a chalice. This is our sacred fire. Today's chalice lighting words, printed in your order of service, were written by Elizabeth M. McMaster. Please join me in reading them. We light our flaming chalice to illuminate the world we seek. In the search for truth, may we be just. In the search for justice, may we be loving. And in loving, may we find peace. With these words reminding us of our search for truth, justice, and love, we light our chalice.
This congregation held its annual meeting a couple of weeks ago, June 4th. That's 2 weeks ago, eh? Yeah. And I'd like to invite the members currently serving on the UUCW board to come forward and to stand with each other right here in front of me. They are Rob Zimmerman, who's past chair and now current secretary, Kristen Bussey, Eric Zern, Stephen White, Kathy White, and Lynn Capitan. Our new board chair is Jeannie Baker. Larry Hawley and Barb Holzhauer, and apparently Stephen White were not able to be here in person today. So as we begin, the first thing I want to do is to especially offer gratitude to those who finished their terms on the board this month. Lisa Larson, who served as president and then past president, Colleen Gresk, who served as secretary, and Pam Beatty. Each of them served with love and care and dedication, and we owe them our gratitude. Lisa's here today. I don't see Pam or Colleen, but thank you so much from all of us. Now, in a free religious community, to serve is the highest expression of our commitment and love, and to be asked to lead is a big honor, and to choose to lead takes courage. This morning, the board of the Unitarian Universalist Church West stand before you. They are here not only because of their love for this congregation and because of their willingness to serve, but because you voted them into office. You chose them. The relationship between a congregation and board, should it be healthy, is one of deep respect and mutual regard. You have asked them to take on the holy work of discernment and guidance, and since the work of the church is the work of the people, they need you to support them in their work, to share ideas and concerns in love, and to offer them your trust as they do their best to lead faithfully. This partnership in shared ministry is always sacred, for it's done in the interest of building beloved community. Now, as a symbol of our shared ministry of leadership, we're going to engage in a ritual that often accompanies the installation of anyone into our UU ministry, which is the laying on of hands. And so those of you who are comfortable doing so, maybe beginning with family members, to stand closest to their families, to come and place your hand on the shoulder of a board member, and others come and place your hand on the shoulder of someone in front of you. Include those who maybe can't come forward in this, just to be sure that we include everybody. Let's connect with others, if not by touch, by eyesight, until each is part of the web of this community. So come now. For those of you online, we want to connect with you too, and ask you to intentionally connect with us. Maybe you even want to put your hand on the screen. We know you're there. Feel it. Yeah, just touch each other. Make a connection. Can't quite do it. Service is an act of faith. Service done faithfully in love is the work of justice and community. And this is what you have asked of these board members, that they serve you faithfully and well. Now, people of UUCW, will you offer love and trust to your board, responding when they seek your input, showing up when they tell you what work needs to be shared, and listening carefully when they speak of the life of the church? If so, please respond, we will. We will. And board members, will you be diligent and faithful in your work, bringing your best selves, practicing self-care and open-heartedness, tending with love the details of the work, and always keeping the goal of beloved community in front of you as you serve? If so, please respond, we will. We will. Now may our hearts be filled with gratitude for these servants of the church, and may the spirit of love guide us all in the coming year. May the spirit of joy infuse the ministries in which we engage, and may our shared ministry bless the world. Amen. Amen. You may return to your seats. Oh. You're in it together, my friends. While you're getting settled, here's a reminder to put some words on that blue slip of paper or in the transition team post in Thursday's news. You can do that all through the service, and you're just going to hand them in at the end. Perhaps as we go through the service today, words will come to you that describe this congregation. I'm so very grateful to those, and I'm inspired by them actually, these folks who said yes to serving on our board. Each day we have to respond to what life asks of us. So let's sing of saying yes. I invite you to stand as you're willing and able to sing number 6, just as long as I have breath.
Just as long as I have breath, I must answer yes to life. Though with pain I made my way, still with hope I greet each day. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to life. Just as long as vision lasts, I must answer yes to truth. In my dream and in my dark, always that elusive spark. If they ask what I did well, tell them I said yes to truth. Just as long as my heart beats, I must answer yes to love. Disappointment pierced me through, still I kept on loving you. If they ask what I did best, tell them I said yes to love.
Thanks, Lynn.
Good morning. My name is Scott Kapishke. My pronouns are he and his. As you know, this is Father's Day. It's been in all the papers. And a ritual such as we just shared seems particularly relevant for this day. That is, acknowledging relationships that form and guide us, while also paying tribute to the holy work of leadership. Reverend Amy Petrie Shaw, who once served Lake Country UU congregation, recently composed and shared this reading. It's called "It Takes Guts to Be a Dad." Fathering can be the simplest of roles. A biological donor of a few living cells, an unwilling participant in the creation of life. But while fathering can be simple, it always takes guts to be a dad. When I ask about mothers, I usually ask, who loved you into being? But for dads, the question is different. For dads, I would ask instead, who loved you so much that they became? Who became a dad for you? A dad is not simply the biological entity who gave you half of your genetic material, though he may indeed have fathered you. A dad is not only the guy who was in the house while you were growing up, though he may have indeed lived with you. A dad is not your friend, though he may have been friendly. Becoming a dad is about making a choice to share not just his bloodline, but his being. Sometimes they get it wrong, and sometimes they get it right. But day after day, year in and year out, fathers who want to be dads make the choice, and they keep trying. You know, the word father in the dictionary is somewhere between bonehead and before fatigued. And for many dads, especially those of teenagers, this is how they go through life, feeling like they are bouncing between being dumb and disastrously tired, with occasional side trips into sheer incomprehensibility. They are. We recognize and honor today everyone who stood as his child shouted at him in anger and frustration. Everyone who tried to understand his child's clothing choices, new hairdo or new tattoo. Everyone who suddenly realized his child might be right and was willing to listen. And everyone who honestly believed he was making the best choices he could. We honor everyone who screwed it up, got it wrong, tried again, got it right, and often went from being the dumbest soul alive to the pinnacle of brilliance and back again in one day, according to his children. These are the dads. We honor and recognize today all those who taught us what they knew and forgave us when we got it wrong. Those who wanted to teach us but left too soon, or simply did not know how to teach at all. Those who walked us to the bathroom in the dark, and those who turned on the lights and waited up for us to come back on our own. Those who let us break their binoculars and steal their shirts, and those who taught us why it was wrong to break and steal. These are our dads. We recognize and honor today everyone who taught us what it meant to be honest, even when it was embarrassing, to tell the truth and admit to our faults, to be human. We recognize, too, those fathers who could not teach us these things because they did not know themselves, but who hoped and prayed that we would do better than they ever did. These are our dads. Today we recognize and honor all those dads who have been there or tried to be there no matter what. Those who have remained calm in a crisis, and those who could not remain calm but did not run away. Those who did run away but came back again, and those who never came back but always wished it could have been different. They are our dads. Rich and poor, tall or short, slender as a pole or round as a basketball. They are the people who helped to raise us and those who formed us through their actions and their lack of actions. They are our dads. Birth fathers and adopted fathers, stepfathers and foster dads, fathers who have no children themselves but who step in to help to raise the child of a neighbor or a friend. Grandfathers and uncles, single moms who've had to learn to go beyond motherhood, trans dads who have given birth, trans dads who didn't, queer dads and gay dads and female partners willing to take on the role. They are our dads and papas and pops and das. Through love and hatred, joy and tears. Addiction, mental health issues, perfect health, sickness, aging, wealth and poverty, absence and presence. They are our dads. They are because of us. We are because of them. They are our dads. Amen.
Indeed, they are our dads. So let's begin this time of sharing by lighting a special candle for fathers. I invite you to share aloud here in the sanctuary or at home the name of someone you want to honor on this day. Speak the names. They're burning. These are our dads. Now let's have a time of sharing of joys and sorrows and gratitudes that touch our individual lives. It's another way to express and experience the many ways that we're part of each other. In a moment, you'll be invited to come to the mic if you'd like to. I'm going to light a few other candles. Lynn mentioned this, but this is a candle for Juneteenth tomorrow, for all the people participating and for what it represents. May we join in that spirit. And a candle, June 12th, which was earlier this week, was the, I think 7th year anniversary of the Pulse nightclub shooting. So this is a candle of remembrance for that evening, for all of the pain and suffering that that night wrought, and for peace and healing for everyone. And coming up this week comes the first year anniversary of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. It's a candle for the countless people who've been impacted by that decision, for those increasing restrictions to access to reproductive health care. May we find ways to make changes that give everyone access to the health care that they need. And a candle for all of you online. I didn't see any texts, but I know, like us, all you out there too have many things that you're holding in your hearts. This is for you. Know that we love you. And finally, a candle for all of you in this room and all the things that we hold in those silent sanctuaries of our hearts. A prayer that those things will be held gently there, but also in the embrace of this beloved community. All of this shared, held. Let's sing together. Number 391, Voice Still and Small. We'll sing it through twice. You're welcome to remain seated, or if you need a stretch, feel free to stand. Just let the words of this beautiful song wash over you, reminding you of all the ways life might be calling you. And again, Maria will lead us. Number 391.
Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. In storm and rain, sorrow and pain, still will remain singing. Calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years singing. Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. In storm and rain, sorrow and pain, still will remain singing. Calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years singing.
So you got anything on that blue paper yet? How might you describe UUCW based on what you're noticing and experiencing today? I don't know what I was thinking when I chose this service title. What does life ask of us? But I actually do know, I was thinking, given the month's theme of vulnerability, about how risky it can be to actually listen to that still small voice, to step into life's calling, whatever it might be, and how risky it can be, how vulnerable we might feel when we know what we should do, but we just don't feel quite ready or equipped. And about how when we name what we believe that life is calling us to be truthful or accountable or courageous or whatever it is for you, that it's still really hard to say we were wrong or that we're sorry or that we're scared. And even more, how really risky it can be to say yes to life. Starting at the beginning, I wonder a bit about how it is that we hear what life is asking of us. I mean, if we don't actually hear it, how can we answer? Do you hear that still small voice within, or the voice of God, or mystery, or spirit, or muse? As a child, I was captivated by the biblical story of Samuel. Do you know it? Samuel was born to a woman who felt so indebted to God for answering her prayers to have a child that as soon as Samuel was weaned, she gave him to the high priest, Eli, so that he might be raised in the temple and grow up faithful. And one night, young Samuel, just a boy, repeatedly heard someone calling him, and he kept running to Eli to respond. But it turned out it wasn't Eli calling him. And when finally Samuel realized that it was God speaking to him, he knew what he was to do with his life. Now, wouldn't it be something if it really happened that way? If we heard a voice of God or insight or an ancestor or a voice from within, and we knew clearly what our purpose was in life. Now, maybe it's happened that way for you. And maybe it has, for me, on occasion happened, even like when I've needed help finding my way through certain moments in my life. And ultimately, I believe that we can trust that we can and do hear that voice, and that one of the great gifts of religious community is that it offers us this reassurance and this encouragement to keep listening. But still, believing that I can trust that voice, I've been unsure and hesitant, scared to make the changes that those voices, that life is asking me to make. Now, I shouldn't have been surprised when I Googled this sermon title. And yes, indeed, one of my sermon writing resources is Google. When I asked Google, what does life ask of us? I shouldn't have been surprised that nearly every article I could find that referenced this question referred back to the writings of Viktor Frankl. Now, I suspect most of us are familiar with Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. I learned this week that just 2 years ago, another book was published by him titled Yes to Life in Spite of Everything. It's a great title, Yes to Life in Spite of Everything. It's a work that's a transcription of once lost lectures, a series of lectures that Frankl gave in Vienna just 11 months after he was liberated from the Nazi concentration camps. Now, I've not read that book yet, though it's now sitting in my Kindle library. What I understand from various reviews and reflections found in my Google search is that Frankl posits that the relentless question that life is asking us is this: what meaning will you create in this moment? Where will you find meaning? What meaning will you create? In Frankl's words, the fact, and only the fact, that we are mortal, that our lives are finite, that our time is restricted and our possibilities are limited, this fact is what makes it meaningful to do something, to exploit a possibility and to make it a reality, to fulfill it, to use our time and occupy it. It is precisely the uniqueness of our existence in the world, the irretrievability of our lifetime, the irrevocability of everything with which we fill it or leave unfilled, that gives our existence significance. But it is not only the uniqueness of an individual life as a whole that gives it importance, it is also the uniqueness of every day, every hour, every moment that represents something that loads our existence with the weight of a terrible and yet so beautiful responsibility, unquote. In other words, meaning is an individual thing, something that changes with each moment, and it's based on our unique experiences and how we choose to interpret and use them. Making meaning in and of itself gives us purpose. Now, this is a postmodernist view of meaning, that it is fluid and discovered in a wide variety of places and sources, not only in empirical data or scientific reasoning. Current-day Unitarian Universalism has held this postmodernist view, and even a postmodernist kind of learning about meaning, understanding that we ought to be comfortable mixing and mashing and merging ideas from different theories, from time and in different times and different sources. But what is meaning exactly? Well, over time, the meaning of meaning has changed. One rather succinct definition from researchers George and Park is that meaning is the extent to which one's life is experienced as making sense, as being directed and motivated by valued goals, and as mattering in the world. I like that. Meaning is the extent to which one's life is experienced as making sense, as being directed and motivated by valued goals, and as mattering in the world. But why does making meaning matter? Well, Frankl believed that humans are driven by our desire for meaning, that we have this intrinsic motivation to find answers and explanations for life events. We flourish when we have meaning. We suffer when we don't. People who believe that their lives have meaning are apparently happier, have higher life satisfaction, are more engaged in their work, have a better immune system, and buffer better against stress. And they live longer in general. That kind of makes meaning matter, doesn't it? The search for truth and meaning is something that really matters to me about this faith. Here we presume that each person will find their own meaning and that will support one another in that search. We affirm that search in our current principles, and it's also explicit or implicit in our stated sources, which by listing this variety of inspirations assure us that we can find meaning just about anywhere. If this is new for anybody, take that gray hymnal and turn to the first page, or the page right before the first hymn, and the sources are listed there. It's a list of everywhere that we might find meaning. Our UU principles and sources are captured in Article 2 of the UUA bylaws. And in the proposed revisions to Article 2, coming to the floor of our General Assembly this coming week, where Eddie and Lynn and I will be, and others will be online as delegates for this congregation. In that proposed revision, the search for meaning remains embedded as a key part of who we are. The proposal names one of our shared values as that of pluralism, a value that celebrates our diversity and asks us to covenant to learn from each other with love and curiosity and respect. And then the section in that proposal on inspirations claims that we can find meaning in both secular and sacred understandings while respecting the histories in which these understandings were created and practiced. Now, one of the proposed amendments to that section is rather substantive. It reads, "As Unitarian Universalists, we proclaim that direct experiences of transcending mystery and wonder are a primary source of inspiration. These experiences open our hearts, renew our spirits, and transform our lives. We draw upon and are inspired by secular, sacred, and scientific understandings that help us make meaning and live into our values. We respect the histories, contexts, and cultures in which these understandings were created and are currently practiced. These sources ground us and sustain us in ordinary, difficult, and joyous times. Grateful for the experiences that move us, aware of the religious ancestries we inherit, and enlivened by the diversity which enriches our faith, we are called to ever deepen and expand our wisdom. Personally, and I know this goes beyond what many of you are thinking about today and what you're studying in terms of what's going on at the floor of the General Assembly, but I love this expanded description of our inspirations, and I hope that it makes it into the final version. We are called to deepen and expand meaning in our lives. Now, just as an aside, if the Article 2 proposed revision is approved at General Assembly this week, it moves forward to another year of study before a final vote next year. So this coming week really promises to be a lively conversation on the floor of the business meeting and for all our delegates. And I'm looking forward to being able to come back and tell you all about what happened. Now, all that to say, the individual search for meaning is foundational to Unitarian Universalism. And given that, it behooves us to provide resources and tools and support to one another as we engage in that search. And as we do that, always we need to remember that meaning is only found by the individual, that we can't implant or impose meaning within another person. Still, we have to remember that as a gathered community, we are responsible for providing frameworks and guidance. While meaning is found and lives in each individual life and heart, the search is greatly aided and influenced by the community that surrounds us. So what guidance can be offered as we search for meaning, especially when it oftentimes requires us to feel like we're going out on a limb, especially when meaning can be elusive and hard-won? Well, I love this short poem by Wendell Berry, The Real Work. It may be that when we no longer know what to do, we have come to our real work. And that when we no longer know which way to go, we have come to our real journey. The mind that is not baffled is not employed. The impeded stream is the one that sings. For me, this is a reminder not to get discouraged, to remember that sometimes we need to spend time in the muck before we can find our way out. And it could be that we find meaning in the struggle itself. Another place of guidance, and I bet many of you have turned to Brené Brown for guidance on this topic. Her work on vulnerability and her encouragement to dare greatly in spite of our vulnerability provides inspiration for me. She borrowed the phrase daring greatly from a speech given by Theodore Roosevelt, in which he said, "The credit belongs to the one who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there's no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if they fail, sorry, I lost my place, and I can't, it's his quote. Okay, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if they fail, at least fails while daring greatly," unquote. And Brené Brown said, "The first time I read this quote, I thought, this is vulnerability. Everything I learned from over a decade of research on vulnerability has taught me this exact lesson. Vulnerability is not knowing victory or defeat. It's understanding the necessity of both. It's engaging. It's being all in," unquote. So sage advice tells us to rest in the unknown, to appreciate the struggle, and to be all in. What else? Well, again, I turn to Frankl, who sets out 3 basic premises before suggesting where or how to find meaning. First, he believed that each person had a healthy core, which I think we've adopted in our naming of each as having inherent worth and dignity. Second, he felt that each individual has the resource to use their own inner resources, which we might call the still small voice within, or our innate ability to reason, or a sense of transcending mystery and wonder. And Frankl's third foundational premise is that while life offers purpose and meaning, it does not assure happiness or fulfillment. And building on these 3 foundations, Frankl proposed that meaning can be discovered in 3 ways. First, by creating a work, accomplishing a task, performing a role, acting, doing something. Second, by experiencing something fully, by loving deeply. Or third, by adopting a certain attitude toward inevitable suffering. In other words, we find meaning by creating, by experiencing, and by adjusting our attitude. Get into the arena, feel it, see it all, good and bad, as something we can learn from. We are meaning-making beings, and by making meaning, we find purpose and fulfillment. Now, when I chose this topic, really, believing life's call exposes us to our vulnerability, I had the idea that I would probably come up with a list, rather like Max Ehrmann's Desiderata. That I could just come to with a list. If you did all these things, your life would have meaning. I could make a list like that. Go placidly amid the noise and haste. Remember what peace there may be in silence. Or any other such wise advice. Take life whole, the sunlight and the shadows together. Live the life that's given us with courage and true humor and truth. Love your neighbor as yourself. Join together and bring about healing. Toil for justice. Produce ever-increasing love. Be morally relevant. Hold hands while crossing the street. Be part of a place where people join together, coming alive in the service of justice and love. Act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. We could each make a list like that. It's all great advice. It's all possible avenues to meaning. But what I see now through Frankl's work is that in each moment, we must find the meaning that's ours to find. And that it'll change moment to moment. I think it's reminiscent of Tolstoy's 3 questions. Those questions about when's the right time to act, who are the most important people, and what's the most important thing to do. The parable that Tolstoy told said that you know the answers based on where you are, who you're with in any given moment. That's the answer, what's in front of you. And it's precisely this ability to be fluid and receptive that makes our lives meaningful. The words we sang a few minutes ago are still ringing in my ears. Just as long as I have breath, I will answer yes to life. Frankl used these same self-words, writing, as long as we have breath, as long as we are still conscious, we are each responsible for answering life's questions, unquote. I close with a poem by a seminary friend, Nancy Schaefer, who died of brain cancer not long after our graduation. She named this poem Calling. When you heard that voice and knew finally it called for you and what it was saying, where were you? Were you in the shower, wet and soapy, or chopping cabbage late for dinner? Were you planting radish seeds or seeking one lost sock? Maybe wiping handprints off a window or coaxing words into a sentence or coming upon a hyacinth or one last no. Where were you when you heard that ancient voice, and did yes get born right then, and did you weep? Had it called to you since before you even were? And when you knew that, did your joy escape all holding? Where were you when you heard that calling voice, and how in that moment did you mark it? How ever after are you changed? Tell us, please, all you can about that voice. Teach us how to listen, how to hear. Teach us all you can of saying yes. All life is asking of us is that we make meaning for ourselves in the interest of lives well lived. Just as long as we have breath, may we listen to hear life calling, and may we say yes to life's questions, yes to truth, yes to love, yes to life. May it ever be so.
I'd like to, am I on? I'd like to tell you a little bit about our current Split the Plate partner, which is the Metropolitan Milwaukee Fair Housing Council. Although federal and state laws make it illegal to discriminate against protected classes or engage in unfair lending, many people are still vulnerable to unlawful practices. So when a person comes to the council, a staff member will discuss options for addressing the issue. Experts in conflict resolution may become part of the process. An investigation into housing discrimination, building codes, financial negotiations, and compliance with the law are some of the issues that may get addressed. Clients learn about their rights, and if needed, legal support is available. The council has overseen some 650 lawsuits. Of those, the council's clients have prevailed in all but 8 cases. Most time, a solution can be reached without legal action, which is in everyone's best interest. For more information about the Metropolitan Milwaukee Fair Housing Council, please see the table in the community room for their literature after the service. It's okay. So here at UUCW, Split the Plate is our way to fulfill UU values and reach out to the community. If you are participating virtually, go to our website, uucw.org, click on Donate, and select Split the Plate from the menu. Or you can text or mail your donation today using the information found here. I thank you all for your generosity to the Milwaukee Metropolitan Fair Housing Council. We will now gratefully accept your offering.
Good morning. My name is Natalie Fleury, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. As Reverend Julie has reminded us, sometimes there are things that get in the way of saying yes to life. This poem, Release, was written by Reverend Peter Friedrichs. I wish I were like the trees who let their leaves go gracefully without regret, or the tumbling stream that flushes silt to sea, exchanging murkiness for blessed clarity, or the dandelion who bows its head to the subtle breeze, unleashing its future without fear or loss. Instead, I drive, white-knuckled, defensive, as we were taught, tense and guarded for what may come my way. I keep a death grip on my life. If you asked me for my dying wish, it would not be for 10 more wishes. It would be to let go of wishing anymore. Wishing I'd made different choices and that I hadn't hurt you as I did. And to forego these old and dusty grudges that I keep like pictures in a shoebox beside my bed. I long to embrace my life with a lover's touch, or as you would an injured wren, precious, tender, true. Instead, regret and fear, twin anchors, hold me fast, close in against the shore. Cast off, I hear them call from the open, exotic lands my heart yearns for. But the waters between my here and theirs hold unknown hazards, unlike this dark, familiar port. This day, a prayer to ease my grip on what once was, or what is meant to be, that I might find myself content to drift and float on life's boundless sea.
Aren't those beautiful words? I long to embrace my life with a lover's touch, as you would an injured wren, precious, tender, true. I long to say yes to life. I invite you to join me in singing Jason Shelton's powerful song, Life Calls Us On. The words are printed in the order of service. Please rise in body and or spirit.
Here in reverence now we gather for the blessings we have known, with a pledge to one another that we journey not alone. Joy and sorrow make us wise, kin to all that lives and dies. Love calls us on. Love calls us on. Words and deeds of those before us awaken here to keep us strong. Blend our voices in the chorus of creation's living song. Courage bids us lift our eyes upward to the shining skies. Hope calls us on. Hope calls us on. Loyal guides in love and duty, lead us with a trusted light. Blessed are they whose inward beauty shows the path of truth and right. Honor is their earthly prize. By their work we realize faith is
please remain standing for our closing words? So, here we are again at the end of another Sunday morning, hopefully feeling grateful to have been together. Say a silent word of thanks to everyone who made this possible, especially today our guest pianist. Thank you so much, Jenny. Then offer a prayer of gratitude for our ability to create, even out of what is broken or lost. This time together matters. It changes us. This benediction, titled Fitted for This Day, begins with a line from June Jordan's poem for South American women, which she presented at the UN in 1978. This benediction was written by Kimberly Quinn Johnson. We are the ones we have been waiting for. We are not perfect, but we are perfectly fitted for this day. We are not without fault, but we can be honest to face our past as we chart a new future. We are the ones we have been waiting for. May we be bold and courageous to chart that new future. May we have faith in a future that is not known. We are the ones we have been waiting for. Life calls us on, my friends. So now go out into the summer. Find the meaning that is yours. Go and find your greatness. Amen.